What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. Today we have a special guest. He's all the way in the Big Apple. He's the man of New York. This guy's a legend. He runs the fitness scene. He's been on reality shows and challenges. Please help me welcome Kenny Santucci. What's up, my brother?
What's up, my dude? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How's everything?
Yeah, how's the South?
Fucking hot.
Yeah.
Fucking hot. It was like 105 the other day.
Sweating
Well,
balls.
let's get down to the real brass tacks. How are the gyms? What's that world like? What's the scene?
I mean, everything's been open. You know, everyone's got to wear a mask inside the gym. You know, which is fine. At least they can enter. But you know, it's
So
still
fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So stupid.
I actually heard the other day what was it? What gym was it? Some lady fainted.
Oh, I don't
She
know.
was lifting, she fainted, and they said that thank God that the spotter was there because if not, the fucking weights would have just collapsed on her.
Gentlemen, I have a question. Do you really think a fucking piece of cloth over your mouth is saving anybody?
No.
But okay, glad we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah. No.
So stupid.
Yep.
Don't fucking take our video down to YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, November 4th, nobody else will ever have to wear a mask.
They're gonna be like, "This is false information."
Yeah, they're gonna flag us for sure on that one. Oh well.
I've never in American history has it been so many people just denying the truth.
I mean, everyone's got their own preconceived notion on what they want to believe, right? And
that's what's crazy is that people are buying into it. Like somebody's pissing on your leg and they're telling you it's raining. You're like, oh my God, it feels so good. It's so ridiculous.
Well, my thing is like, what happened? Sorry, man. What happened to like the American ideal of like figuring out what you want to fucking do and not have anyone tell like who you know came up with the decision that you know Fauci and Trump or whoever, right, is going to be the one that tells us what we should do with our fucking lives. Like never in American history has it been like that.
I compare it to the seatbelt thing, right? If I don't wear a seatbelt in the car, the only motherfucker I kill is myself, right? And everybody's saying, like, they put this burden on you and they say to everybody that, like, you have a responsibility to other people to save their lives. If I have my mask on, I believe this is saving me, right? What does it matter, right? Who am I saving, right? If I believe this is saving me, then I have it on. I don't need to worry about what everybody else is doing. And if I'm in that much fear of going outside, then I shouldn't go outside, right? Shouldn't I have the choice to do what I want?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. It's one of those things where it's to me it's just seeing where everything going. It's just a way of control. It's a way of control.
The sad part is that you're watching good people fail and businesses fail and money being lost, and it's a sad state right now. We're in a real shitty space.
Well, there's no plan. Like I know, you're in New York City, and De Blasio just came out and they asked him like, well, what's your plan to reopen indoor restaurants? And he's like, well, we don't have any plan in the short term. Like, what do you mean you don't have a plan in the short term? It's your whole job to have a plan.
Yeah.
Short term, long term,
yep.
in the middle.
Matter.
Like you don't have any fucking solution other than like we're just gonna let riots occur, and we're gonna pander to specific groups that we think are gonna help us get back into office, after re-election. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a sad state because, I have buddies of mine who actually are right across the street. They have a gym, and they dump their life into that. Years of, working their asses off and money and time, and I feel so bad for them because right now they're just struggling, trying to just stay afloat, and it's not going to happen. Especially not. Okay, even if money's made, right? Barry's Boot Camp, Equinox, a lot of these gyms are based on, and bars, restaurants, they're based on table turnover and volume at the bar and volume in a classroom. If there's no volume, if you limit the volume to 33%, the business model no longer makes sense. So you should tell them one or two ways, like, hey, listen, we're going to be shut till December, and that you have no chance of survival, and then people could just pack it in. Or you say, hey, listen, if people want to come in, it's at their own risk. Like everything else. I go skydiving, it's at my own risk. I go surfing, it's at my own risk. Everything we do, we have a 33% chance of dying every time you walk outside your house. Get hit by a car, fall into a sewer, get shot, whatever it is. The chance of you getting this virus right now is less than 1%. So
yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to that point, right? It's like making your own decisions. Like you mentioned, if you're fearful that you're gonna contract the virus, then don't go to the places where you think you're going to contract it. But the fact that Walmart, Home Depot, you know, the grocery stores, they're all open, you know, and you can safely, you know, socially distance and you know, wear your mask and do all the things in those places, even though everyone's touching everything in there.
yeah.
But you can't go into a gym that's going to help you be healthier, that's going to be sanitized the second you put the weights down. You can't do that.
Yep.
Can't do that. But you can go into Publix down here and touch all the fruit.
And another one, you know, you hear on the news, it's more masks, more sanitizers.
Yeah,
more
yeah.
This. Where's the more health? Where's the go work out, go sleep, go.
That's what I don't get. We diminish this thing. We flatten the curve. Why are now we implementing more rules? Like, what sense does that make? And Josh, to your point, I said the same thing. I go, week 3, I'm at Whole Foods. There's 2 homeless guys in front of me, finger fucking everything in sight. They're not clearly not buying anything. They're touching all the fruit, all the vegetables. I'm more worried about getting whatever the fuck they have all over their hands than getting coronavirus.
I was about to say that.
And I'm looking around and I'm seeing like these overweight people who work at Whole Foods and like Walmart and all these other stores. And I go, well, I'm in way better shape than they are. And I'm way healthier than they are. If they're not getting it, being in the store with thousands of people coming through a day, lines out the door for people to come through, are they less of a risk than I am? Fuck that. I'm going to go and live my life and do what I need to do. And if you don't want to be around me, if you think I'm this like ball of radiation, then stay the fuck away, you know? And that's what everybody should do. You should have the choice. From day one, we should have had the choice. If you are scared or you're one of these people who's on the brink of falling apart, then stay home. But let the healthy people fucking thrive and do what we need to do.
Right. Well, and the thing too is like, you know, in order for you to be as healthy as you are, you had to make a ton of sacrifices, right? You had to delay your gratification, right? Whether it be through your diet, right? With going out to restaurants or your exercise, right? You had to sacrifice that time in order to make it to the gym and put in the work. Just because other people decided not to take that route in life, now people like us and you, and our clients, right? We all have to suffer, you know, because of it. And my biggest problem is that everyone talks about all of the deaths that have happened in America, but no, especially compared to places like, you know, Japan or South Korea or, you know, Germany. It's like, what is really the underlying reason behind that? It's the fact that we have a major problem with lifestyle, health problems, right?
Yeah.
Like obesity,
Yep.
you know, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, like all these things are caused by your lifestyle for the most part. So because you decided to be lazy and not, you know, find the right avenue for yourself in order to be healthy, it's really not that complicated to just be relatively healthy. You don't need to be the fittest people in the country like some of us are, but you can be healthy by making the right choices that are pretty simple to make.
And when I shit on people about that, right? If you're willing to help yourself, I got your back 100%. If you're trying, I got your back 100%. But if you're unwilling to try, if you're one of these massive overweight people and you have a mask on, all right, I would worry about the 50,000 shitty decisions you made up to that point than worrying about a mask.
Yep.
Because at that, you've made so many bad decisions after bad decisions on a daily basis. On a daily basis, you probably don't sleep well. You're probably depressed. It all stems from the fact that you have no accountability and you have no sense of responsibility. And I think that's what's wrong with the country now today too, is that nobody's accountable. Somebody does something wrong, right? Oh, well, it's because it is. It's because that. No, they're
Point the
fucking
finger.
price. I grew up with consequences to everything I did, you know, and people who didn't do that, right, don't understand that. I realized at 13 years old, I was a fat kid. I was like, if I don't take care of myself, I don't eat better, if I don't work out, then no one's going to do it for me. If I could realize that as a 13-year-old, I could guarantee that people could realize that at 25 or 35 or 55.
Yeah,
you know,
you're speaking our language. I mean, two former fat kids right here. So
yeah.
And then that's the thing, like, it goes back to that laziness, and people also too, they just want to point the finger to whatever is the easiest way out, you know. And it's just like, look, I had an experience. It was actually here coming up in our building. You know, I was in the parking garage. I think I had told you. And I was literally, I had stuff in my hand. My car was right there, and we're in the parking garage. I'm going to the elevator. As I'm going to the elevator, I have my mask in my hand because I have so much shit. And I'm about to like start getting ready to put my mask, and this lady's like, "Hey, sir," and I'm like, "Hey, you know you're supposed to wear your mask." And this is overweight woman, you know, not crazy obese, but overweight. And it's just like, you know, you're doing an injustice. And I'm just like, please don't continue. Like the last thing you want me telling you is please look at yourself first, you know. And it's not being in a mean way, but it's like you're saying, like, you've done so many other awful steps for yourself.
Yeah.
Regardless of what your situation is, to then try to blame me that it's going to be it's going to be me the fault of why somebody or I would get sick because I didn't have my mask on for a few seconds walking to the elevator from a parking garage.
And yeah, an open parking garage.
So it's like, you know, give me a break. You know, give me a break. Like, check yourself first. You know, before anybody talks to, like, check yourself first and actually check how healthy you are first.
Yeah, and that's what I say. It's like if everyone was more accountable for themselves, if everybody, instead of talking about what everybody else is doing, just worried about themselves, then I think we'd have a lot less issues. You know,
I mean, it's a disassociation from personal blame, right? That really steers people in the wrong direction and makes them look at the world like, you know, everything's out to get them. Whereas if you take accountability for it, it's like, okay, you know, I'm in control of my life. I can make the decisions that I want to make that I feel are best for me. And like you said, but previously, right? If you think, I mean, we live in Miami, you know, tons of people are still down here partying. I don't go to those fucking parties.
Yeah.
Because I might be at risk of getting sick, you know? So I just avoid those. And I don't hang out with those people during that time. You want to hang out with me one-on-one? That's fine. But I'm not going to go to a fucking warehouse rave, you know, with 400 people in it.
Yeah. That's what kills me. It's like, you know, some of that stuff, they'll be the same people who are one day protesting, the next day they're at a rave getting all screwed up and stuff. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think the narrative needs to change, and we need to, you know, program people to take more, you know, kind of self-awareness and more accountability of what they're doing on a daily basis. You know, when I was fat, I used to get tortured, right? Whether I was in high school, college, didn't matter. And when I got made fun of, I never thought, oh my God, that person's so mean.
Yeah.
I thought I gave them reason to say that. That was my fault, right? And if people started to look at the world that way, why'd someone say this? Why did this person do this? And if it's the simple answer that they're a jerk off and that's why they said it, right? When somebody says something about, you know, a disability or somebody's race, that's just ignorant shit that you could just chalk.
You're just an asshole.
Yeah, that you're just a jerk off at that point. But when you're doing something wrong, right? Or I look a certain way, or I did something, right? If I go out and wear, you know, a costume and I'm dressed like Batman, and people are like, oh, he's an idiot. I'm like, oh, I chose to wear the costume I like, or who cares?
Right.
I'm overweight. I gave somebody the reason to say that to me, right? I'm not making the right decisions for myself. And when, like you were saying before, I don't look at lifting weights and training and working out every day as, oh my God, I want to be just aesthetically pleasing. Obviously, yes, that's the cherry on top of the cake. But as I get older, I want to be able to move well. I want to be able to get out of my own way. I want to be able to play with my nieces and nephews. I want to be able to create better circulation through my body so I don't feel as stiff in the morning. Like all these things, there's no downside to working out, to training, to being healthy, you know? And when we encourage people to make bad decisions, oh, well, she's just a bigger girl. It's like, yeah, there's people who are bigger bone. There are people who are natural athletes who are just built a certain way. And then there are fucking people who are fat, you know?
And I'm gonna tell you something that bothers the shit out of me. And it bothers me when you get companies out there, and don't get me wrong, it's not because, heck, you know, everybody needs to have clothing line or apparel line, but I hate those apparel companies that they promote, oh, it's okay to be XXX, wear this clothes. It's okay to feel comfortable in your own skin. No, that's not okay. Hey, yes, there has to be clothes for everybody because there's a starting point. Hey, this is where you are now. This is where you need to be. So now we're going to move you forward so you can be over here. But it's not to keep somebody over here so that way you can keep selling them fucking clothes that's triple, quadruple X because you just want to make money from them. And then you're promoting this fake promotion on, no, it's okay to feel comfortable in your skin. And that's a fucking problem.
Well, it's also bullshit, right? It's like you telling someone like, oh, you should feel comfortable being a 3X. Like there's no fucking way that it is comfortable to be 3X.
No way.
There's no way. So
we've all been.
So you're setting someone up for failure automatically because you're telling them that they should feel comfortable that way, and it's fucking possible to feel comfortable at 300 pounds.
And we were fat boys, so we can say this shit.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way. There was not a day that I felt comfortable in my own skin when, like, just putting on my pants felt like shit. Walking into a restaurant felt like shit. I felt like everybody's watching me because I am this fat slob shoveling shit down my throat. Yep. Like you even feel
you're hilarious.
Yeah. I was one of those people. Even now, I still think like, oh my God, is everybody watching me? But what we were saying before, you know, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and they're like, oh, you're doing pretty good in the city. You're running classes. You're doing private. I'm doing everything I could because, again, I know if I don't do it for myself, no one's going to fucking do it for me. I'm not waiting for the government to fucking send me a check. I'm not waiting for anybody to fucking give me a handout. I need to go and do it myself. So somebody's like, oh, well, it's going to be great for you. I go, no, everybody needs to win. And when I mean everybody fucking needs to win. Everybody needs to be a winner. And that's the mentality that we need to create because that's how the American dream stays alive. Yep. When people know that if they take a chance, if they work hard, if they bust their ass, that's why everybody fucking came here, was because they knew they had an opportunity. If they succeed and they push hard enough, then they will win.
That's why you get these schools who hand out 8th place awards.
Yeah,
and it's fucking turning all these kids into little pussies, bro. And it's just like, guys.
We used to melt my sister's father and I used to melt down her participation trophies in front of her. Like, listen, throw that in the burning barrel because it's meaningless.
Here's what people don't realize when we're starting to see that crumble of civilization right now is that, well, people are like, well, I don't want to exploit people. Like, they'll look for every excuse. But if you're willing to take the risk, if you're the guy taking the risk, if you are winning, right, and everyone else around you, it's just like your circle of friends. If all my friends are winning, then it's going to make me want to win more. And if everybody starts to adopt that mentality that you can win, if you open up a restaurant, you make the best food, and you curate the restaurant, and it looks beautiful, people will eventually come. If you create the best gym and the best environment, people want to be there. People want to be around other people. And if you create an environment and a situation where people feel loved, accepted, comfortable, and have a good time, then you will succeed. And if more people start to succeed, then everybody wins because everybody has more money. Yes, it's a long shot. But so is this fucking idiot mentality that like everybody's equal. No, the people who are equal are the people who are trying.
Yep.
If you're, what the fuck are you doing? You're wasting everybody's time and your own.
Well, I think the whole idea of American prosperity, right, has shifted from equal opportunity to now people want equal outcome, and those two are very, very different. You know, very, very different.
It's like I tell people all the time: the moment you're born into this world, you know, you're not born deserving anything. You know, you have to go out and earn it. You know, you have to go earn your stripes. You have to go make your living. And you need to make that happen for you. Now, are different people born in different opportunities? Of course, but that's how it is. And that's what makes people unique, going down their path and their journey of self-growth. But at the end of the day, nobody's born equal. And it just has nothing to do with, throwing out anything with race. Hey, look, at the end of the day, yes, we're all humans. We're born as humans. We're equally as humans. But the way that we go about our life is not equal. The way that we produce is not equal. The way that some people are more successful than others is not equal. And, at the end of the day, if somebody's busting their ass off, why should this guy who's being lazy have everything you have? Doesn't make sense.
People see like people who are winning and people who are doing well, right? And it's inside of us. It's this want inside of us to be like, oh my God, fuck them. They have everything. You got to think, if they got to that point, then there's a reason why they're there. There's a reason why they're winning. And, you can't shit on somebody like that. You got to use them as a beacon to be like, oh shit, I could get there too if I bust my ass. Some of the guys I surround myself with, or the guys who've come and spoken at Strong and done stuff, I want to be around those people. They make me fired up. They make me want to be better because I've seen what they could do. And now I'm like, well, I'm going to take what they did and make it my own, because you have to. And that's how innovation happens. And that's how growth happens. And that's how you become better, right? As soon as you throw your fucking hands up in the air and be like, I can't do it. I just told my client this morning, he's like, I put weight on the bar and he's like, oh, I can't. We just got done talking about alpha males, right? And he's like, Ken, you're like an alpha male, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about that. I just do me. I do what I want to do. And I go, you know why you'll never be an alpha? I go, because most alpha males never say the word can.
Yep.
You try. And if you fucking try 10 more times and fail, you try again. So I go, I've lost 100 times. I've lost 2 gyms now. I've lost, tons of fucking money. I've lost tons of opportunities. It doesn't mean I'm going to give up, right? I'm going to keep doing it. If you care about what you're doing or you're trying to do something, you will succeed if you fully focus on what you're trying to do.
Well, it's coming, it's the 2 different mindsets that, unsuccessful people have and successful people have, right? People who are perpetually successful, right? The people who aren't successful in life, they come from that scarcity mindset of, there's 100% of the pie. And if Kenny, you take 20%, then that only means that there's 80% left for me to be able to pick from. Whereas, if you come from an abundance mindset, it's like, okay, well, there's way more than 100% of the pie. There's always an opportunity for me to find the avenue. It might be the same way that you became successful, Kenny. It might be the same way Mendez became successful, or it might just be my own individual way of finding the ways in the opportunities that I can take in order to build my own path through life.
Yeah. Well, look at who different people inspire, right? At the same time, some of the greatest athletes and some of the greatest entertainers lived all around the same time, right? I look at wrestling and I'm like, oh, nobody's better than Hulk Hogan, right? And then somebody like Stone Cold came along and you're like, oh my God, and he captured a different audience and inspired more people. I relate everything to wrestling just because I was a huge fan. But the same thing with like Michael Jordan. Everybody's like, there'll never be another Michael Jordan. Here we are 10 years later or 20 years later, and everybody's like, oh my God, LeBron James. There'll never be another LeBron James. It's like, there are great athletes and great people, and you don't know what audience you're going to touch, right? Think about clothes, right? Ralph Lauren, Nike, right? Oh, there'll never be another Nike. And there's Reebok, and there's Under Armour. Like, think of like all these brands, or social media people. Oh, he already did that. Okay, well, there's this guy who does this, and he does it just as good, if not better. And there's this girl who does this, and she does that. So unless you're willing to try, you'll never know, because there's so many there's no shortage of people in this world. And there's no shortage of, authenticity, right?
Yeah.
If people just did what they believed in and did what they wanted to do, then they'd inspire a whole new slew of people.
And that all goes back to, it has to do with that mindset, and also to the, like you said, who are you surrounding yourself with, and even at your home, sometimes there's cases where, heck, if you need to remove yourself from your own home and your own family so you can get the right mindset, then that's the fucking thing you got to do.
Yeah, I've had to do. I mean, you could talk to my family; they'll tell you, right?
Dude.
I didn't talk to my mother for like a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Dude, I gotta
step back. I got to do my own shit.
My family's like,
it's not working.
My family's like, holy shit, you've changed. You're a completely different person. Like, oh, now you don't even care about us. I was like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's just the fact that I don't want to be in this negative household that's holding me back from thriving for greatness.
It's so funny that you say that.
I still love them and I still see them, but that's not my core group of successful people. They're always going to be my family and I love them, but it's knowing how to understand at one point in life where you need to know, okay, here's your family. Where can you separate yourself so you can keep winning, knowing that you still love them and you still see them, but that's not the people you're going to spend your certain successful moments and doing these amazing strides in your life with. It's going to be with these people over here that are lifting you up every day.
Yeah. And that's what I say all the time, because just yesterday I had this argument with my mother, and she's like, I was talking about, like, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to sign this lease for a new space and blah, blah, blah. And I want to take a risk. And she's like, what if you lose it? I go, this is why I fucking can't be around you. And like, we had this big blowout. I go, because, and that's how my dad was. My dad passed away last year, but anything I did, when I was on television, my dad's like, well, what if you lose on television? So I don't even go into shit being like, what if? Of course, it's in the back of my mind. Of course, there's the chance of me losing. But I was explaining this to my nephew yesterday, because he was with me and my mom. And I was like, if my goal is to get to that fucking door as fast as I possibly can, all right, all I focus in on is that door. I've given 100% of my focus to getting to that door as fast as possible. But as soon as I look back or turn around for a second, I've now taken that split second off my time. And I don't want to think about the negatives. I don't want to think, what if I fail? I don't want to think, what if it doesn't work out? If I fully focus on getting to that fucking door, I'll get there as fast as I can. And even if I lose, at least I know I gave 110%. And there's so many people who don't even attempt to do it. And then they look back and they're like, whoa, oh, I didn't get to do that. It's like, because you didn't try, motherfucker. You didn't take this. Don't tell me that, like, these guys, like these people who are rich, it's like, yeah, they had opportunities and shit. There's 100 people on the planet. Donald Trump, as much as people fucking hate him, Donald Trump's father gave him $10 million, right? How many people do you know who've won the lottery, who've lost $10 million, who've been professional athletes? Mike Tyson, I love Mike Tyson, but Mike Tyson, over the course of his career, lost like $300 million, right? You're not seeing his buildings with his name all the fuck over it. So you can shit on the guy, but before he was president, everybody was like, well, he's the epitome of fucking, he's been in 60 fucking rap songs. Yeah. And everybody looked at him as the epitome of, does he do dumb shit now?
Obama said he was the American dream. You know?
It's like, he was looked at as like, what, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, if you could sit down and have drinks with anybody, I'm like, Arnold. Hands down, Arnold. Somebody like Arnold or The Rock, who came from nothing, who like they live in the world that I've admired my whole life. You know, the wrestling and action movies and all this shit, and like just to pick their brain, because these guys are the epitome of what I admire is. There's that nonstop go 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 attitude. You know, they're at the pinnacle, the top. You know, there's not a guy on the planet, and you know, who's ever picked up a dumbbell before, who doesn't know who Arnold is and doesn't love him for everything. You know, and for guys like us.
Well, and what happened to, you know, looking at the positive values that people have in their life and looking towards those for motivation and for inspiration, instead of like, well, you know, Arnold was also the governor of California and he did a couple bad things. It's like, yeah, but he also fucking got them out of, you know, financial hardship to where they were profitable. You know, like, you don't think about that. Think about how many people's lives he helped, you know, by making California a profitable state when he was governor. Like, you know, you might not agree with everything he did in his life, but all of the positives have helped so many people. Why don't we focus on those?
My best friends, I was just saying, my mom, I love my mother to death. I would kill anybody for my mother. But do I agree with all her views on everything? No. Do I think she's an idiot for some stuff? Absolutely. And I told her yesterday, we had a huge argument about it. You know, so it's like, there's not one person on the planet that you 100% agree with. And you have to be able to, and Tony Robbins put it best. I went to a Tony Robbins thing and everybody's like, oh, he's this, he's that. Guy says a lot of smart shit. And when I was there, he's like, you got to blame responsibly. You know, you have to blame responsibly. So
that's a good one.
I mad at my dad for all this shit that happened in my life. And I could be like, he didn't give me this, I didn't get that, blah, blah. Or I could be like, because I didn't have that, it made me work harder for this. Because
all the time.
It showed me the a shit side of the world, it made me realize that I don't want to be there and I want to go to this side. So it's blaming responsibly. So for all the shit that happens in your life, for all the negative stuff, Michael Jordan, being the greatest basketball player. If he just grew up and he was a great basketball player and if it just came easy to him, he would have probably been a complete jerk off, as a kid. But
if it wasn't for him getting cut off the high school team, the first time he tried out.
Almost every great athlete has that same story. How long did fucking Tom Brady ride the bench? And now he's got to get better. I just got to get better. We compare everything to sports because it's the physical, right? When I crossed the finish line, when I did the Ironman back in 2013, I remember crossing the finish line and having this like epiphany, right? This spiritual like overtaking, being like, oh my God, if I could just, for 15 fucking hours, I ran, I swam, I biked. I go, if I could do this physically, I can't imagine what I could do if I put my mind to something, right? Yeah. So when people are like, I can't do this. I was born into a shit situation. So is fucking Oprah Winfrey.
Yep. Yeah.
So is everybody. It's like, and everybody's like, oh, you can't just use that 1%. It's like, no, but at the same time, it does give you hope. And without hope, we have nothing. So look to someone to inspire you to do something that you probably shouldn't do or couldn't do, but you do it anyway.
And I'm going to put it best like this too. Like I tell people all the time, a lot of people complain about all these things all the time. And when I ask people, I'm like, look, would you ever trade your lifetime right now for your grandparents or great grandparents?
Fuck no.
Who went through these wars, who had to fight in these wars, who had to struggle through these things, and they'll say, no, hell no. Those were problems.
Yeah.
Those were problems.
That's why we had less bullshit made up problems back then. Could you imagine the Revolutionary War? This is what kills me about this country. There are so many people who stood on the front line, young guys, way younger than us, 18, 19, 20 years old, stood on the front lines waiting to get their fucking head blown off by a cannonball so all of us could live here and bitch about shit and spray paint fuck 12 on a wall and stuff.
Yep.
There were billions of people who've died to make this country what it was, and the fact that we don't appreciate that is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up in upstate New York. I'm from like maybe 90 miles north of Syracuse, and in the largest Army base in the country, Fort Drum, is like 30 minutes from my hometown, right? So I grew up, very proud of our military, understanding the sacrifice that a lot of people have made. A couple of my cousins have served and come back and have been really fucked up from it, really fucked up. Like they are not the same person because they went over to Iraq and they went over to Afghanistan. Like they sacrificed who they were as an individual before they went over there in order to make sure that the rest of my family and everyone else in this country that can thrive and can be the person they want to be can do so safely. And now we're supposed to trash these people because, they're making the ultimate sacrifice. Police officers are making the ultimate sacrifice.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I couldn't imagine being a cop right now ever, but
we're going to have serious problems. We're going to have serious problems because we're not going to be able to get people to be cops.
No.
And the problem is people act like, oh, if there weren't cops, there wouldn't be crime.
Oh, just send a social worker. Just send a social worker to like a domestic violence case. Like, are you serious?
This is the problem. It's like law and order was created because we can't fucking get along because we're savages.
We're savages. So clearly, look at what's going on now. It shows you like when there's no law and order, you fall back to how we were 200,000 years ago, where we were. I had a conversation with someone the other day. Like, if I would, I really think that we were better off like 10,000 years ago because we weren't fighting like this. I'm like, are you fucking stupid? Are you stupid?
Back then
I'm like, people were being murdered every single minute of every day in the most brutal way. I'm like, do you see guillotines just like walking down the street of New York City? Like, no, you don't. Those existed in the 1600s.
Well, people think like all these ideas are like new ideas. This was evolution. This is thousands of years of us being like, this works, this doesn't. This works, this doesn't. And now we're at a point where we really don't have to worry about shit anymore. We don't have to worry about where water's coming from because we took care of that.
There's no fight or flight anymore.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like people are fucking soft. Like, think about all these assholes who were like burning shit and breaking stuff and treating other people like shit. It's like, send them to war and let them see what the other side would be like. Let them fight. Like, if you want to cause chaos, then you go there. Send them to where real chaos is. Where they don't have a choice and an option.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in New York City, but I would assume most of the people that are rioting and looting in New York City come from the fucking Long Island and Westchester suburbs.
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
from good, wholesome families who are successful, you know, and they're like, well, my dad was rich and he's a fucking asshole to me. So, you know, fuck the system, man. Fuck the system.
Yeah.
But
Like,
wait,
tear down the patriarchy.
I want to still drive my Mercedes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to drive my Mercedes to the Nike store to kick in the fucking window and steal some shoes.
Yeah, I still want to tap into that well because I want to live nice too.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to tear down capitalism, but I'm going to fucking do it through my iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
But
what the fuck?
It's somebody like, I mean, I know this is a sensitive topic with a lot of people, but like Colin Kaepernick. Here's a guy, it's like he hates white America and he thinks it's
He's
all bad.
half white.
Yeah.
He's half white, but he's adopted by a white. Like, have you ever?
Yeah, and a wealthy one.
Yeah. And I go, he's really never had a struggle in his life.
No.
He, a wealthy family. He's like, oh, are you kidding
Well, you know,
me?
he went to Nevada and they were a trash football program. I guess you could say that that's a struggle, but
It kills me that, like, here's a guy who's had it way better than I had.
I mean,
Way
millionaire. He's a millionaire.
Yeah. So it's
He's a
like,
millionaire playing a fucking child's game.
and that's what kills me is like when you hear these people that are, oh my God, he's got it so hard. Fuck, I wish I had his hard. Boats and fancy homes and sneaker deals.
Nike ads.
Yeah, it's got to be fucking miserable.
Yeah.
Dude,
Like,
well, it's insane.
And you know
But
what happened? What happened to the actual like glorification of people who are actually doing shit instead of, you know, I mean,
Well,
listen, like we all
went-
kind of have some sort of celebrity, you know, to some extent, but I don't think any of us are looking, you know, for other people to look at us as like a moral high ground of everything in life. Like, I don't consider, like, I go to him for advice. I'll go to you for advice if I needed it, but I'm going to understand going into that like you're just another human being and your experiences and your advice might not be what I need to take. Like, I love LeBron James. I think he does great, but I'm not turning to LeBron James for my advice.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, and if you're doing that, you need to really check your values and what you really believe is right. Because, you know, for all LeBron's doing and all the great that he does in the world, doesn't do everything perfectly.
No. And just think about, like, when you were 18 years old, how impressionable you are, how, like, you're still growing physically and, you know, emotionally and everything else. And at 18 years old, this guy's cashing $100 million checks, 90 million.
Hey, and all to him, nothing against that.
Oh,
Nothing against that. Kill it, dude. But
That's a completely different reality than what we grew up in, right? I was a security guard in downtown Newark at 17, 18 years old.
I worked at a toll booth.
Guys make it,
selling fireworks in high school.
That's such a Miami thing to do, sell fireworks.
But, you know, it's like when you got a check for $200, you're like, oh my God, I'm rich. You know, and I'm buying CDs and comic books, and here's this guy's got $90 million. It's like, yeah, I don't think he gets where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Nah, definitely not.
So,
And that's the part that too, like, you know, a lot of where it's like you hear guys come out and try to talk about these situations. It's like, but dude, you know, you know, certain guys, and I'm not saying, look, LeBron, I know was born in a household and he had issues and stuff like that, but let's go afterward. You know, some of these things where, you know, it's like even now, I think he was being criticized for like, hey, dude, I thought you were all for this movement. Where's the promotions on your jerseys? Where's this? You know, and it's because obviously because of the money in this, he can't do certain things. And they're like, wait, but you're so for it, you know, and bashing on him. Why aren't you in the inner cities of Chicago and all this stuff where the real shit is happening? It's because, well, you might get shot if you go there, you know, and it's, and they'll tell him, well, this guy's not a real one of us, you know, and that's the truth.
I mean, I have conversations with my clients all the time. Like my hometown is a town of, you know, 1,800 people, like farm town, you know, very rural, working class, like very low income. And my clients are like, well, you know, middle America is like this and middle America is like that. I'm like, you grew up in fucking Orlando. You have no idea what middle America is like. Like you went from Orlando to New York, to FSU, to New York City, to Miami. You have no fucking clue what it's like in middle America. You have no clue what it's like in Nebraska or the farm towns in New York. Like you have no idea what these people's mind is like what their mindset's like, what their daily life is like. And you're going to sit there and try to tell me, who grew up in that situation and now understands what it's like to be in a bigger city. You're going to sit here and try to explain to me what these people should be thinking and doing. Like you're insane standing up on your soapbox.
Yeah, I think finding the right, I always talk about this, like finding the right people to follow, finding people who've come out of shit or a similar situation to yours and have rose above the stuff. You know, like one of my biggest fans or one of my biggest idols is Joe Rogan. I love everything he does. right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Newark, New Jersey. That's where I grew up. You know, he was super into, you know, martial arts and stuff like that. I grew up wrestling. He was a jiu-jitsu guy. You know, he was a TV host. I was doing hosting for a while. Like I went to improv for a while. He's a comedian. Like there's so many parallels. And I'm like, man, if I really keep trying, there's hope. Here's a guy from my city, and the way he lived and the way he was, I'm like, yeah, that could be me. If I keep pushing, maybe one day I'll be some 1/8 of what he is, you know?
Yep. And look, and I'm gonna tell you, like, a lot of what's going on, man. It's all, a lot of it is show, and a lot of it is you know,
It's virtue signaling.
with the election, you know. And you get guys like, you know, successful guys like, look, like even you hear Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington, you know, and you even heard them. They're like, what issue are we going through right now? You know, Morgan Freeman came out, I think, being interviewed on the news, and they asked him, you know, the anchor was like, hey, so what's your take on everything that's going on? He's like, you know, and all the racism stuff. And he's like, what racism? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, if this was such a huge issue, he goes, do you think I'd be a famous, you know, actor being who I am? And do you think you'd be a top-notch anchor in today's world if it was that big of an issue? And the same thing goes with, you know, what Denzel was saying, some of that stuff too, you know. And you know, these comes from guys who you can tell their mind is on point, on sharp, and always trying to succeed forward. And it's just, it depends on, like you're saying, it all goes to with who you associate with yourself with, and what you're going to allow yourself to bring into your life, you know. And if and moving forward, you know, you just got to be able to understand that, you know, you need to put all this shit aside. And at the end of the day, you got to work on you. Stop pointing the finger. Stop pointing at this, whether it's because of this, that, whatever the hell it is that you feel emotionally driven by. You got to sit back and say, you know what? Like, what the fuck have I done? You know, have I really fixed anything in myself first before I point the finger at anything else, and say, you know what? Maybe it's my fault. Maybe this is why I haven't moved forward in my life. Maybe this is why I haven't succeeded in this area, whether it's weight loss or business or whatever the hell it is. But take a step back and just say, shit, am I going to ever point the finger at myself?
Yeah,
you know?
and that's, there's no accountability, and everybody's a victim. And that recipe is disastrous.
I mean, where do we go from here, Kenny? You know, like, in your opinion, like, you know, where do you see things going? Is there a way that we can kind of shift, not necessarily back to how things were, but into a new era of self-acceptance, and also, you know, self-reliability, you know, where you rely on yourself to make shit happen for you and your family?
I think there's, you know, I love the saying, it's always darkest before the dawn. You know, I think we're gonna see a shitty time period out. I hope it's not too long, but I'm sure it will be.
It's gonna be chaotic after November 4th.
Yeah, where there needs to be some sort of renaissance here, and I think art and you know, more positive thinking will arise from this. And I think it's going to take disaster for people to realize that. You know, it's going to get pretty bad for everybody.
I mean, it's been a long time since we've had real bad shit happen in America.
For
sure. A very long time.
Yeah. And I think that's part of why things spiraled up, you know, because everything was at its highest.
Yeah.
You know, things were at most comfortable.
It's every like 50, 60 years, and we haven't had anything in a while. And, you know, I think we're due for one of these situations. And, but I think we need to encourage the younger generation. Like my niece and nephews are all under the age of 5. And there's this window of people in their 20s and, you know, kids in college and high school now who have this like victim mentality and stuff. And so it's like that generation, I feel like, unless we could change the way they think, they're kind of at a loss in a way. But we need to encourage people to be like, listen, if you lost, it's probably your fault. If you didn't make the team, then you just need to try harder. It's not the end of the world. You can try and try and try again. And I think that idea, or those ideals, have been lost with a certain generation, because nobody, you know, we've come so far that we don't want to see our kids hurt. And I get where it all came from. But at the same time, it's like you need to let them fall on their face. You need to see
a disservice.
So you understand that, like, hey, this is what it feels like. When I was in high school and I started on the football team, and I saw guys who were faster than me, who were stronger than me, who were in better shape, who, you know, I'm like, I didn't think like, poor me, I should get a trophy. I was like, I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I want to be that. And what did he do? He's the guy who got up in the morning and ran and worked out extra hours in the weight room and practice his position. So for me, I'm not going to throw my hands up and be like, somebody just give me something. I was more like, fuck this, I got to go and try harder. And I think that's, Ellie, it all stems from the way we think. And if we can encourage people to think better, then I think we'll be onto something.
Yeah,
100%.
I agree, man. I mean, I see it, you talk about the younger generation. My sister's 20. She's a junior at Syracuse now. She just started her junior year. And, before she went back, when, everyone was locked in, she kind of snapped at one point, and she started getting into that victim mentality. And, her and I didn't have the best childhood. Our mother was a single parent. She tried as hard as she could. Neither of our fathers, like my father was never around. Her father was around some of the time. My mom made some bad decisions, ended up going to prison for a little while. And my sister started to go down that rabbit hole of like, well, all these bad things happen and I don't have what my friends have. I'm like, I didn't have those fucking things. Like all my friends are from New York City. They're from Westchester. They're from Boca Raton. They're filthy rich with very wealthy families. That didn't fucking stop me from working harder than them or working just as hard as them or trying to network harder or find out my own path. Like, you're no fucking different than I am. You actually had a better childhood because when our mom was doing all that bad shit, you were young. When I was your age, I didn't have any of that. I could fucking put my foot through the floor of my mom's car growing up like Fred Flintstone. You didn't have to deal with that. We were going to fucking Disney World when you were a kid. So all these hardships that you think you have are really non-existent. They're just constructs of your own mindset because you see what other people have and you think, well, I should have that. Well, what gives you the fucking right to deserve the things that they have?
It's comparing syndrome. Yeah, it's comparing syndrome. As I tell people all the time, the one of the most important things that you need to stop doing is comparing yourself to other people. And when you can do that effectively is when you can start seeing yourself for who you truly are and what you can truly do and what you're capable of. But if you allow yourself to be, clouded up by everything you see on social media, everything you see on magazine, everything you see on TV, by all this bullshit, and it's like, that's what's killing you. And at the same time, granted, you don't know what they've gone through. Heck, maybe they're so successful because they've gone through a whole bunch of shit too. And now their chapter is, like I say, their chapter 20 is different than is a different situation than your chapter 1, so don't compare your chapters in life with somebody else who's probably already gone through a lot of shit, and that's why they are now. You're only seeing that because you didn't know what they went through, and now you have to go through certain shit so you can obtain your success one day if you really put your foot down and put in the work.
I agree, boys. Guys, thank you so much. I got to actually run to a client and stuff. But
all right, man. We appreciate it. Before you hop off, why don't you let everyone know where everyone can find you on social media? Anything that you got going on in terms of programs and stuff. Where can they find all that?
Sure. So I just started with Join Ladder on Instagram, and then Ladder Teams. Great program. It's online stuff. I walk you through each workout. There's a live chat where you could communicate with me and other people who are on the team, and we could do some really cool stuff. And as it grows, it's become more and more interactive. So I'm really excited about that. I mean, we just launched at the beginning of August, so it's been really cool watching people jump on this and kind of
awesome.
Get on board with the internet stuff, because I've never done it before. I never really thought I had to. And now that the world fell apart, I'm like, all right, maybe this might need to be a gun that I have in my arsenal. And here in New York, I teach classes at Kenny Santucci. You can find all my classes. And then I do remote programming as well as private training. So anything involving the training world, I love it. I'm doing it. Happy to help you out. And at Strong New York and at Kenny Santucci are my two handles that you guys can find me at.
Awesome,
but thank
man.
you,
Kenny. Yeah, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Kenny, we really appreciate it, man.
Great conversation.
Again soon.
Real quick, what's the number one biggest piece of advice you can leave everybody today in one sentence?
Accountability.
Boom. One word. Beat you to it.
If it's bad, be accountable for it. If it's good, be accountable for it. Own your shit.
All right. Thanks, Kenny. We appreciate it.
Much love, my brother.
All right. See you later. All right. Until next time, guys.